Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today we're going to talk about what to plant in January. I'm going to go back to my trusty list. So January is kind of weird around here because you'll get freezing temperatures, but then you'll also get temperatures up into the mid 80s sometimes. And that's going to be a problem. We're going to plant some bok choy today, and I'll kind of explain that as we go along. Alright, so what it says to plant in January is beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, celery, Chinese cabbage, which is bok choy, kale, kohlrabi, leeks, onions, parsley, potatoes, English peas, radish, and turnips. Alright, so of this I've got, well actually I need to replant some more radishes, but I've been growing some radishes. Some turnips, I got them growing, they're in the ground. Kale I got already. I got a few onions, but I need to plant some more. And then beets I've got growing. Broccoli, my seed just, I don't know, something happened to my seed. I can't seem to get it to grow. But I got a backup plant, so we're going to try that again probably next month. I'll probably do that in February. The cabbage is going to be my bok choy, the Chinese cabbage. Carrots I've got planted. Celery we've got growing. I may get some more. So that's the things to plant in January here in the Northeast Florida area. All right. So let's talk about bok choy. So bok choy is a very tasty green. You can cook it like you cook cabbage. There's a lot of different things you can do, stir fries and all kind of stuff. But one of the big issues with bok choy is if it gets too hot, it'll bolt. And I've not had any luck. I've tried planting it a little bit later though, but I haven't had a lot of luck with it because it gets hot and then it all just bolts out. The temperatures say 60 to 80 degrees. And at 80 degrees seems to me to be pretty much a hard 80, because if you go over 80, then it all goes downhill from there. It bolts up, and we had a pretty warm spat last winter, so they are frost hardy but not freeze hardy. All right, so they'll do a frost, but when it freezes hard, it killed them off last time. And it says minimum full sun is 4 to 6 hours. We should be fine here. All right, so it talks about planting them 1/4 inch. Well, let me kind of explain. So I have tried multiple times with bok choy, and I've gotten a whole bunch of seed, but I haven't really got a lot of bok choy. And I think it's just because our temperatures fluctuate so dramatically. I mean, we'll go from 20 degrees overnight to 85 degrees the next day. And in the wintertime, that's kind of one of the challenges you have here in Northeast Florida. So what do? Well, you plant it, hope for the best anyway, really. We did get a few leaves, but just not enough to really justify the $3.50 or $4, whatever it was that we paid for the seed. Now, I did get this seed for Christmas, so hopefully we can get it to grow. So one of the things about bok choy is it's another one that the bugs just love. So I know I had talked about planting my garlic on. You can see my garlic's coming up nicely when I planted last week. But we had, I had talked about how I was going to leave this open enough to where I could actually go in there and hoe it out if need be. But I'm going to go ahead and plant some stuff in there anyway, just because it's empty space. It's kind of just sitting open. And I'm thinking if I can plant it and then mulch around it, because I'm going to want to mulch my garlic anyway. So if I can mulch around the bok choy once it gets up and grown, hopefully it will do a little bit better with the temperatures. So I'm thinking maybe if I can keep the roots cooler, then we'll be able to knock that out. All right, so it says 1/4 inch deep. Now 1/4 inch, it isn't much. It's just a little tiny amount. So you don't want these seeds real deep or they won't come back up. So we're going to go ahead and just run. Well, let me run my line here. Hang on. Now, You don't need to run this line at all, but it just helps me at least keep track of where I'm at and keep the line somewhat straight. And you don't even have to have a straight line at all. You can just broadcast seed. You can either broadcast the seed or just kind of, wing it. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my fingers and I'm going to use those to dig the trench. So I'm only wanting it 1/4 inch deep. So you're really just barely scratching the surface. And we did get a lot of rain here recently, so it's probably a little damp. But I got some stuff to do this weekend, so I don't want to be doing this over the weekend. So we're going to do it now. As long as you can get the soil to cover back over, you're fine. But like I said, you only want about 1/4 inch of soil covering them anyway. And believe it or not, a lot of times when it says 1/4 inch, as far as how deep to plant, you can probably just put them on top of the soil and kind of step on them to push them in. Now, Bok Choi is a big, it grows up into a nice big plant, somewhat like the lettuce variety. Man, can't think of the lettuce variety. Romaine lettuce. I'll show you a picture here. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. A little shadow. That's what it's supposed to look like. Okay. But we tend to grab it when it's still a bit young. So if I'm a little closer than normal, because here it says, because of that nice big bunch, that you want to kind of thin them out to where you got them 1 foot apart. So we'll decide if that's what's going to happen. But for today, I'm just going to toss them in there. A little bit closer. Now I do have some other Bok Choi seeds that I have saved, but I'm not sure of the variety. So I'm going to go ahead and use these new ones that I got for Christmas. Because at least then I know the variety. And like I said, I just haven't been real successful. So I'm kind of hoping, to be honest, that the variety change will make me a little more successful with it. We'll see how that goes. But this does bring up another interesting point or thing to talk about. All right, you can't grow everything everywhere. Everything everywhere all at once. All right, some things you just can't grow in certain areas, and that is a lot of the advantage of being an experienced gardener in your area, or getting a hold of and talking to an experienced gardener in your area. But some things just won't grow. But now the flip side of that is that I was assured, and I can't even tell you by who, that you just can't grow celery in Florida. And I'm here to tell you that's just not true. You can grow celery here in Florida, but you gotta grow it in a certain manner. All right, and I'll talk more about that another time. All right, we're just going to cover this back up loosely. And even though the soil is damp, I will water this just to make sure that the seeds have contact with the soil. And one of the advantages of planting it in between the garlic, one of the reasons I'm doing it, is because, like I said, it's a favorite of the pest bugs. They like to get in there and eat it. And hopefully the garlic growing will will keep that from happening as much. Now, growing garlic next to your vegetables or your leafy greens is not going to prevent all bugs. All right. If you want to keep all bugs away from your plants, you're going to either have to cover them, or you're going to have to use some sort of chemical or something crazy like that. Something that is beyond my knowledge of. It's just there's just no way to keep bugs out. All right. And now you can spray your vegetables or your crops with pesticides. I don't like that. I'm not going to do it in my garden. That's not to say you can't. You can do whatever you want. It's your garden. But I feel like if I do that, then I'm eating the pesticides, which is chemicals, and probably not too good for you. All right. So we're going to start with that. We're going to see how it goes. And one of the things about greens, particularly something like this, it's going to mature up into a large stalk. You're not going to want all of them all at once. So I'll come back through and I'll replant another row in there in a few weeks. So that way I've got some separation between the two crops. And then we'll see too, will it make a difference planting them later in January than it does in earlier part of January. We're like, it's either the 9th or the 10th. I can't tell you for sure what day it is. Well, so that's what I got growing, or what I'm planting today. I kind of, I'm a little nervous to start planting too much. Because here for the last couple of years, we've had at least a couple of days where it gets real cold. All right, and while a lot of plants are frost hardy, now things like onions and garlic typically will do well even in a freeze. But I don't want to get too carried away and basically, plant a bunch of stuff like potatoes, for example. One of the things they recommend right now is potatoes. I will tell you that potatoes probably are not a good idea. Potatoes will freeze. If they freeze, they will die. Okay, you get them growing up, and once they break ground, if you get a good hard freeze, even a good frost will kill the plant, and then you're basically planting all over again. So I won't plant my potatoes at all until at least mid-February. And I know that they tell you to plant them in January. It's just, I've done it before and they've frozen and died. So it's just kind of a wasted bunch of potatoes that I put in the ground. So I'm going to go back over the list real quick, just so y'all hear it one more time. So what to plant in January in Northeast Florida: beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, celery, Chinese cabbage, kale, kohlrabi, leeks, bunching onions, parsley, potatoes, English peas, radishes, and turnips. Same thing with peas. I mean, peas like it chilly, but I have done that before too, where I planted the peas, and while they're frost hardy, they're not really freeze hardy. I mean, you can lose all the peas you planted because they just die because they got frozen. All right. Well, that's what I got going on. Thank you for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and subscribe if you don't mind. Helps me get this back out to more people. And then grow some. Get some things growing. Even if you're doing it like I am, just a little at a time. A little this week. I'll do some more next week. And we'll slowly get back into it. And hopefully this year, I'll be able to get my Bok Choi to grow where I could not in the past. All right. It's just been a real challenge. And I'll be honest with you. When it comes to the Bok Choi, if I can't get it going this year, I may just give up on it and just say, well, that's just something I'm not going to be able to grow here in the Jacksonville area. All right, anyway, thanks once again for stopping by. Y'all take care and grow something.